Hey guys, welcome back to Coding for Kids. Today we're going to be doing Python and we're going to go over all the different turtle graphics commands. So this video is going to be explicitly about turtle graphics. So all the commands that we're going to learn today are all about controlling Tracy the turtle, just like we did in class. Okay, and for this video we'll be using REPL because that's what we're using in class. In order to use turtle graphics on REPL, you first have to import turtle graphics, and you do that by typing in import turtle. And then you have to set the variable t to the turtle graphics, so this is how you do that. And now we can type in our command, so it would just be t.command, and then that's going to control the turtle. So the first command I want to show you guys is going forward, or the turtle goes forward. So you do that by doing t.forward, and then you can put in any distance that you want. And this distance is measured in pixels. So for example, if I wanted the turtle to go forward 60 pixels, I would say t.forward, and then I'd put 60 into the parameter, and then I'd hit run. And you guys can see that right there. So you guys have to remember that the turtle always starts off facing to the right. So when it goes forward, it's going to go to the right. So that's what that looks like. Oh, and one more thing. The turtle's always going to start with its pen down. So when you start drawing a line, it's always, or when you start moving the turtle, it's always going to draw a line behind it. So you could also go back with turtle graphics. So you could do t dot backward, and then you put in a distance. So I want to show you guys that you can end up behind the starting point. So I'm going to do 80, and if you hit run, it should start somewhere, or it should stop somewhere back here. So you can click run, and right there. So it drew 60 pixels to the right, and then when it went backward, it drew those 60 pixels again, which means it made it to the origin, and then it went 20 pixels back. So this line is currently 80 pixels long. Okay, the next command I want to show you guys is circle. So you do that by t.circle, and then you can put in a radius. So for those of you that don't remember, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circumference, which is the outside of the circle. So that means the bigger my radius is, the bigger my circle is going to be. So t.circle, and then I'd have to put in a radius. So I'll put in 25, and this is what that would look like. So the turtle is going to draw a circle. So it's always going to start drawing it from the bottom of the circle. So it's always just going to form a loop, just like that. Okay, after that, we have pen up and pen down. So this is how you make the turtle lift its pen up and put its pen down. So for example, if I do t.pen down first, it won't really do anything because the turtle starts off with having its pen down. So instead, I could do t.pen up, and then I could say t.forward 60, and then t.pen down, which means it's going to put its pen back down again, and then t.circle. And then I'll make it the same size. So now, instead of drawing the circle at the origin, which is 0, 0, it's going to draw the circle somewhere out here because it's going to move forward first. So this is how that would look like. There you go. So as you can see, the turtle started off right here, but this time it moved 60 steps forward, and you can't see that line behind it because it had its pen up. So once it moved 60 steps forward, then it drew that circle. So that's how the pen up and pen down commands work. Okay, so far we've only been doing commands where the turtle moves forward and backward, and it's always facing the right. So now if you want to make the turtle face up, you have to rotate the turtle. So you do that by using the left and right commands. So for example, the turtle is facing the right now. But what if I want it to face down? That means that the turtle has to turn to the right by 90 degrees. So t dot right 90 degrees. And if I do that and then do t dot forward 100, So that's the distance, forward 100 pixels. That means that the line's now going to be straight down. Instead of to the right, it's going to be straight down. So I can click run so that you guys can see that. And as you can see, instead of drawing the line to the right, since we turned the turtle before we drew the line is going downwards. So instead of doing right, you could also do left. So now, since the turtle is going to start off facing the right, if you turn it to the left by 90 degrees, it's going to be facing up now, and then forward 100 degrees. So you guys can see that right here. The line is now going straight up. And you guys don't just have to do 90 degrees. You could do 45 degrees if you wanted to. That means the line's going to be diagonal. Yeah, just like that. So once again, these parameters can change. So you could just put in any number that you want. Okay, the next command I'm going to show you guys is t.setPosition. So if you guys can recall, the plane that the turtle lives on is a coordinate grid. So that means that each point on the plane, meaning each pixel, has a specific coordinate pair. So that means you can move the turtle to any position on this white part, the plane, that you want. So for example, I could do t.setPosition. And you guys have to remember that it starts off at 0, 0. So if I wanted to, I could set it to 100, 100. 100 as its x coordinate and 100 as its y coordinate. So this is the first command that actually requires two parameters to be passed in. So when I click run, you guys can see the turtle goes to 100, 100. So something important to notice is that when the turtle moves to whatever coordinate I want it to move, it's still going to be facing to the right. So I can change this to whatever coordinate pair I want. So I could do negative 150, comma 60. So that's going to be somewhere up here. So I can click run and yep, right there. Okay. You could also change the speed of the turtle. So you do that by typing in t.speed. And then you have to type in a number here. So 0 is the fastest. So that's like instantly. But any number after that, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. As the number goes up, the faster the turtle's going to drop. But 0 is still the fastest because it's instantaneous. So for example, if I set the speed to 1 and then I do t.forward by 100 pixels, if I run it, you guys can see that it's kind of slow. But if I do 0, it's going to be faster because 0 is instant. Right there, it's faster. And the higher the number goes, the faster it is. So the higher the number, the closer it gets to the speed of 0, but it never gets there because 0 is the fastest. Okay. If you guys want to add your own artistic effects to the turtle, you can actually do that too. So instead of always making it draw a black line, you could actually change its color. So you do that by typing in t.color. And since you're typing in a string, you have to use quotation marks. And then you can type in, let's say, red. And then to show you guys that we can draw a line, so t.forward, and let's make it 150 pixels long. So when you do that, the pen color, so the color of the pen, is going to change to red. So by default, it's black, but when I run it, you guys can see that it changes to red, and the line is 150 pixels long. You guys can also actually change the thickness of the pen. So the bigger the thickness, the wider the trail behind the turtle is going to be. So I could do t.pen size to change the color, or to change the size of the pen, and then I could make it, let's say 50. And let's run it. And as you can see, that line is really big. And you can't see the turtle at the end because the line is basically covering the turtle. So if you wanted to, you could change the color, and then you could change the pen size to something even bigger. So let's try 100. I've never tried something this big. And yeah, you can see that it's really fat. So if you get rid of those commands, it's going to default back to being black, and the pen size I think is 25. Okay, so just to show you guys that, t dot forward, and then you can do 25, and as you can see, it's back to being black. Okay, so now we're going to talk about filling stuff. So remember how I showed you guys the circle command? So that's when it drew a shape and the shape was closed, right? There were no openings. So when you're doing that, you can actually fill the shape if you want. So the fill command is going to fill in any closed shapes that the turtle draws. So for example, you have to first type in t.begin fill, and then you can type in t.circle. So let's make it 45 pixels as its radius, and then you could do t.end fill. And then instead of having a black circle, let's make the circle red. So t.color, and then you do red. So let me show you guys that. Okay, so wonder why it's not working. Oh, there it is. So basically, the turtle changed its pen color to red, and then it began filling, and then when it drew that circle, all the closed shapes that it drew were going to be filled. So that's why the circle is actually filled in. But if you didn't do the begin fill, it's just not going to have any color inside it like we did at the beginning of the video. Okay, so far, the only closed shape that we've been able to draw was the circle. But you can actually draw more shapes by using the same circle command. So what I mean by that is you're just going to have to pass in 3 parameters instead of 1. So let's make a comment so I can show you guys what I mean. So you can actually use the t.circle command and pass in 3 parameters to draw multiple shapes. So you have the first parameter is going to be the radius, the second parameter is going to be the extent, and the third parameter is going to be the steps. So like I said before, the radius is the distance from the center of any point or from the center of the circle to any point on the circumference. So that's the only parameter that we're passing in right now. The extent basically determines the degrees of the circle it needs to draw. So what I mean by that is 360 degrees is a full circle, and then 180 degrees would be a half circle, and 90 degrees would be a quarter circle. So extent is basically the degrees. And the steps determines how many points are on the circle. So for example, if there's only 3 steps, it's going to be a triangle. If there's 5, it's going to be a pentagon. And if there's 8, it's going to be an octagon. So the more steps there are, the more it looks like a circle. So let me demonstrate that. So I'm just going to get rid of the fill stuff because I think it's easier to see things when they're not filled. Okay, so let's keep the radius 45. And before I do that, I'm going to tell you what shape I want to draw. I want to draw a triangle. So that means the radius of the triangle is going to be 45, and the extent, meaning the degrees, are going to be 360 because we want to actually draw out the full circle, and we want to take 3 steps, which is going to draw a triangle. So when I click Run, you guys can see that Turtle Graphics draws a triangle. So I could actually change this to even like 7, and it's going to be a 7-sided figure. And the reason that the figure is like, it looks kind of like a circle even though it has more sides than a circle, is because the degrees are 360. But if we change that to only 180, it's only going to draw half of the figure. So that's what it looks like. It just stops after drawing half of the figure. But if I make it 360, it's going to draw out the entire figure. Like that. Okay. So that was the advanced circle. And after you draw all your things, you can actually clear the canvas. So you would do that by doing t dot clear, just like that. And then if you run it, it's going to draw out the shape and then clear it, as you guys just saw. So those are all the turtle graphic commands. So using those commands, you can draw a ton of different shapes, and you can actually produce some really cool artwork. So you can also use other coding constructs in turtle graphics like loops, if statements, variables, user inputs, and etc. So for example, if you wanted to draw a square, instead of doing go forward 50 and then turn to the left 50 and then or turn to the left 90 degrees and then go forward 50 and etc., you could just do a loop. So yeah, hope you guys had fun and hope you guys learned something. Thanks for watching.